Criminology Conference. This session is Quintessence, Recidivism among Black Young People. And our speaker today is Asmahan Msuya from the University of Birmingham, which is in the United Kingdom. So we are very excited to have her. And I'm giving the floor to Asmahan.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to join you in this exciting event. And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to present today. Yeah, as she just mentioned that my name is Dr. Asmahan Msuya. I'm a lecturer in criminology, law, and security studies at Birmingham City University. It's not Birmingham University, but Birmingham City University. Yeah, so thank you very much. And without taking much of your time, I think it's right time to share my slides, if you're okay with that. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, just cautious with time. So let me put my PowerPoint, and I hope they're clearly being seen on your side. Yeah?
Yes, we can see.
You can see them properly?
Yes.
Okay. Right, the topic in front of you, what I want to share with you today is part of my research findings, the research which I did almost a year ago now. The topic is quintessence, recidivism among Black young people here in the UK. As the topic suggests, my intention was to look beyond the existing factors that they have been proclaimed as the main cause of recidivism, of reoffending, of the criminal behavior among Black young people in the UK. My intention then was to go beyond what they've been referred as the factors to see what caused these factors to exist and why are they more prone to this particular community than in the other. For example, they're more prone to the people of color than in the mainstream society, the white people. So what I'm expecting to cover today then, it's, let me go to the next slide. My objectives for today is to explore, as I've just mentioned, to explore the root causes of the problem, or the root causes why recidivism remain persistent among Black young people in the UK. So to go beyond the existing factors that lead to reoffending among Black young people. My other intention or objective of my research was also to explore why these factors, the root cause of the problem, why do they render invisible in the mainstream criminology? Is it true that our parliament, our government, the judiciary, and all like criminal justice system and other social structures, do they really not aware of what are the real cause? Why do they really keep on dealing with the symptoms? The factors which I refer as symptoms rather than factors, because they really know that where the root cause of the problem is or are, but they are dealing with more of the symptoms rather than the real cause of the actual problem. So my intention was to go there and to see why they render invisible in the mainstream criminology. The other thing that we'll cover today will be to explore how the criminal justice system, the power, and the legacy of the empire, the capitalism, intersect to construct and uphold the image of Black criminality and Blackness as a risk in the society. What I was trying to do here is to see the criminal justice system as one of the giant social structures in the society, and the power. The power here, I'm referring to the supremest power, the legislature, the judiciary, and the executive. And the mode of production itself, the capitalism, because it is within these parameters where we see that the root cause of the problem are. These are the root cause, this is the kind of where the factors that we proclaim to be the causes of recidivism are started to kind of grow to the particular group of the society. To determine also why the penal system, the England and Wales penal system or the British system failed to reduce recidivism, and especially to Black young people. Why this problem remain persistent? Despite of all measures, we move from a prison which is not working, and we move to the alternative. We go through the treatment model. All what have been tried have failed to reduce recidivism. The reason, this is what made me interested to see if we really know that these are the factors, why do we fail to kind of correct the problem and resolve this issue, or at least reduce the level of reoffending? Then we will also see like why the one reason of that is like Black young people are being perceived, or they have been kind of shaped with the police as people themselves as a trouble, young people as trouble, as perpetrators, rather than young people in trouble. So they're not being perceived as victims of socioeconomic problems, yeah, so that they need help to overcome the problem, but themselves they've been perceived as a problem. And also we'll able to explain why punishment, for example, the prison, which is the main practice in the UK, and the alternative to prison and other diversionary measures, they have become less effective in reducing recidivism. We'll end with some remarks, recommendations, suggestion, which I come up when I do the whole analysis of my findings, and I come to think myself like, what works then if this doesn't work? What will be the approach if all this have been done, a lot of reforms, a lot of changes within the policies, but nothing works, whether in prison or in alternatives? So I come up with the remarks which I will also share with you today. Just to mention that my research was kind of being built up within the historical analytical lens. My intention was to look historically how this criminal justice system come to exist, how the contemporary criminal justice system operates from the time of slave trade to the contemporary society. So I've used the theoretical critical race theory and macro structural opportunity theory as the guiding frameworks. So that is all what I'm expecting to cover today. But I will start with these kind of provocational questions. As here, or some of you who are here who are in UK, we always kind of celebrating and say that we celebrate the diversity, yeah? And we all kind of celebrating the society that we are all equal. But there's a lot of question beyond what we are trying to celebrate. The question that, are we all equal before the laws? And the other question that we need to ask ourselves, does criminal justice system exist in the UK? Is the system that exists in this UK is real there to deliver the justice among the all members of the society? For some of us, or for some people, including myself, we believe that probably we are not equal before the laws, as others put there. I just put this quotation here. I said the goodness of British justice, though blind, is able to distinguish unmistakably black from white. When it comes to justice, our criminal justice system has the clear vision to see who is black and white. So the distinction is there. In other words, race is the something that defines everything when we come to justice. And the other thing, when we talk about a criminal justice system, I find this is more of the legal system, with the reason that this criminal justice system is just there to deliver exactly what is being intended by our legislatures. So our parliament is just designed the law in such a way it allows the loopholes to exist, the loophole that allow discrimination to be there in the community. So discrimination and the inequality is being allowed by our own laws. So it is there where probably we can see that is the area where we need to work if at all we intend to reduce recidivism in our society. It is our parliament, it is our judiciary, it is our government that need to look things in a different approach to bring the realistic solutions. I've just shared with you some of the factors here that are the main themes, I call, because when you go to literature, they're the main themes that exist. When we go to empirical evidence, these are some of the factors. There are so many factors that countless of them that they exist as the main reason for recidivism or criminal behavior among young people. So let's go through these factors and see, while these factors are being proclaimed to be the reason why young people commit crimes, however, what is missing here is to see why these factors exist. So when we look from, for example, from criminology or socio-criminology, we find that the main reason for recidivism is pro-criminal attitude among the Black young people or young people in general. But for the purpose of my my research was to look on Black young people specifically. So it claims that young people, they have that mindset, yeah, the pro-criminal attitude. So they tend to see the benefit, yeah, they see more benefit of committing crime rather than the cost of committing crime. So in other words, the punishment become ineffective because when they weigh it in probability because of the economic hardship that they're facing, they find that it's more beneficial for them to go through crime rather than looking the cost of the punishment. And this make the punishment ineffective because the purpose of punishment, according to our laws here, is even defined within Criminal Justice Act 2003, I think section 142. It says the purpose of punishment is to deter the offender and to send the deterrence message to the public. So people, they know that if you do this, you commit this offense, this will be the consequences. But if people are not worrying, they don't worry about the cost that they could pay if they commit the offense, the punishment itself become ineffective. But why people have this attitude then? Why do they end up having the pro-criminal attitudes? It's because of the socioeconomic hardship that they are facing, that they see it will rather do this committing crime, ending up within this incarceration cycle rather than just going through the punishment. So they don't value, they don't really kind of been deterred or because of the effectiveness of punishment itself. The other thing is criminal associates. So Black young people, or the young people, they are kind of associate with peers with who have more or less the same criminal behaviors. So if you look on our postcode and the layout of the British society, where are Black young people belonging? Look at the communities of Black young people. This itself, the kind of social segregation, it gives them no opportunity to kind of associate with people with less kind of hardship than they have. So they are likely to learn from who is surrounding them within their localities. And their localities, no one is there who is much better than themselves. So they are in the same bracket, in the same hardship. The other interesting factor is criminal history that is even been pinpointed by our Home Office data analysis, that is because of criminal history, the prior incarceration or revocation for probation. That is one of the reasons why these people, they trap within the incarceration circle or within the recidivism behavior. But these factors, they don't go beyond and see like why these people have these factors, why these factors are attached to these young people. But when we look the factors such as criminal history, we come to see that when the young people serve a prison sentence, let's say for 6 months or a certain period, however shorter that is, they become much worse in terms of integration to the community than before they entered the prison system. So the problem is not that they've been attached with these criminogenic effects, they become even worse when they finish the prison sentence. So they have this problem, not because of being Black or not because they are who they are, but they have this problem because of the socioeconomic problems that we are not ready to address them. The other factors here that is also evolving in many literature and research evidence, we look on antisocial personality pattern and attitude that starts from the early childhood. In this research, I had the opportunity to speak up to 12 years old, who they're still in the primary level. And you can see that what we refer as antisocial personality, the way it started to develop from very young age, because the perception and the social construction of these young people, Black young people, it is there already been shaped to what is going on within their family, within their parents, within school. So all that shaped them to construct the world in a very different way. The family and poor upbringing and parenting. This has also been mentioned by our own government. The Home Office have already reported this as the one of reason for recidivism. So what was really striking me is not true, or we need really to come up with a reasonable reason as why there's a poor upbringing among Black parents. The parents that we're talking today were yesterday's young people who face probably more or less the same or even poor living condition, poor economic or harder economic situation than the young people of today. So what the parents are doing today is not the fault because this is kind of the way the Black parents looking after their children. It is because of the economic hardship that it's there from generation to generation that cause these consequences to pass from one generation to another. So it's not that they have this particular upbringing style, yeah, or the way of not able to satisfy the needs of the young people. It's just because they are more or less in the same position as the young people that we are talking today. School drop out, the lower attainment. So when we talk about the school attainment, the quality of education that is being given to the area where the black people are living, they just lack that kind of quality. While we have that kind of statutory right to go to school, the schools are open, there's teachers there, but look what are the education opportunities, including, for example, entrepreneurship, for example, the ability to be creative and innovative. All those are lacking in the area where Black young people belong. Unemployment, that is not even something that we can, I think I'll take the whole day to speak about unemployment, because this is a problem that has been passed again from generation to generation. But if you see that young people has already saved or has already visited the criminal justice system, is very unlikely to enter the labor market in this country, because once you have that kind of the criminal background that you have been involved in a certain way, maybe just being in stop and search or anything other criminal record that is attached with you, then your criminogenic dynamic effect become more significant. Then you face more, you find it very hard to be employed in this country. Substance misuse and alcohol problems, you can see the amount of strains that these young people are facing and how this could cause them to move from the norms to the deviant to the to become then full involved in delinquents and other kind of criminal activities. Residing in poor communities, of course, these people, they're in kind of the hotspot and the hard-pressed areas, the area where you can find that the level of crime is very high. The reason is not that they are belonging there. That's why they are become trapped in recidivism. The reason is why this area, they become the hotspot area or hard press. Why we don't look beyond that and see why this area have this characteristic and how can we deal with this characteristic or these factors or these symptoms in order to cut the root cause of the problem among these Black young people. Yeah. structural racism and inequality that even have been looked, even reports come from our own parliaments, including the Lamy report, Scarmore report, the reports that have been written since 1980s to now, and suggesting a lot of changes. Most of the report, most of the things that have looked at the issue for incarceration of Black young people in this country, they end up giving a suggestions for reforms. And the way I look at this problem, we don't really, reform will never work. As you will see at the end of my my presentation today, what we call reforms will not bring any realistic changes in terms of how we can able to reduce recidivism. We need a different approach. Reforms is not something that can able to cut the root cause of the problem, because the reforms that we are talking about, the issue like structural racism need to be tackled. How do we tackle it in order to bring, for example, more police from Black ethnic minorities? Those are things that will cause just the department or the government department to be more diverse, but it's not inclusive, and the equality is nowhere to be seen. So reforms that you were talking about are very prima facie, try kind of masking the problem. It's just treating the symptoms, but the real cause of the problem are still there, and they are nowhere to be seen in the mainstream criminology. And it is there where we need to put our efforts. Some of people, for example, who have the same idea like myself, including Philip and Bowling, they argue for minority perspective. And Russell 1992 as well see that there's a need of Black criminology, because the mainstream criminology, the way it is inherited from slavery to colonialism to where we are today, is not a right approach to look or to resolve the problem that are attached with the people of color in this country. So let's share some of few findings here as well. These are a few facts actually reported from other statistical information. For example, during the pandemic, a lot of reports comes up, recidivism has been reduced to some extent. There's a fall, for example, among white people for 55%, but for Black young people is 29 to 34. I put these different figures here because different sources have reported different figures. But you can see the disparities. While we feel like, okay, the level for offending has been reduced, however, we still have a large number in terms of Black young people, because it's only 29%, and while the white people is 55. So why this difference is there? Black young people consist of 20% of all reoffenders, while the Black people in this society make only 3% of the population. The BEM community make about 13%, but when we look the prison population, Black people, Black young people make it 20%, a huge overrepresentation. 9% of Black young people are likely to be stopped and searched. 80% are more likely to receive harsher, longer sentences, the custodial sentences, compared to the white young people. And Black young people are less likely to get community sentences and are twice likely to be dragged into the criminal justice system for the minor non-violent offenses. The other thing that was very interesting in my research that I found is like, okay, now I'm learning, because you can see the nature of the offenses, or that drag these young people to prison, and the effect that is attached to that young person after finishing the custodial sentences. So you can see that probably they could be more helped if they could not go through the punishment. So the punishment itself has not played the role of changing this offender, has just made the situation worse than it was before. Because most of them, they involve in what we call the economic crimes. So they are just finding the means to survive. And this tells us it's because of social economic issues that they find themselves. or they grow within that trigger them to be involved in these minor offenses. And probably prison is kind of a worst place to send these young people, because you're just creating more of the prison population of tomorrow. I use this critical race theory because it gives us the opportunity to use the theoretical framework, which enables us to see why our criminal justice system, it fails, or the penal system fails to tackle recidivism. And probably this is not accidentally, it's something that probably our own government, our own parliament, our own judiciary, the court, they are really aware of this, but it's just the intentional turning the blinding eye to the cause of the problem. This theory argues that critical race theorists hold that racism is inherited from slavery to colonialism. So race is a social construction, the concept that traces back from slavery. Racism that is here in this country, and probably many other countries, including in America, that cause real kind of hardship to the to young people and the black community in general, is not the friction between one person to another. It's not the individual bias or prejudice. This racism that caused the issues such as recidivism and other things that put Black young people in a bottom level of the society is racism that is embedded within the legal system itself. And the legal system here, we started from the lawmakers, from the parliament itself. The way that our laws has been designed, as I said before, that has been designed in such a way that it allows, it gives the loopholes, for example, for the criminal justice gatekeepers, the police, to discriminate. It gives this opportunity for law enforcers, the executive, to discriminate. It lay our society in such a way that the discrimination is focusing in a particular group of people, community within the community. Yeah, so it's embedded within the legal system, and that's why I tend to see or to argue that the root cause of the problem, it is there within our legal system itself. And if we really need to correct or to tackle recidivism, we need really to work in terms of a transformative approach rather than just reformation. So race is a culturally inverted category that is used to oppress and exploit Black people and differentiate colonizer and colonized. So let's see this theory, the argument of this theory in terms of the analysis of our findings. So criminal justice system is built to enforce inequality in the diverse world. Our society here, it's really, really important to be diverse. So it's not that Blackness is not needed in this country. Blackness is something of great value in a capitalist society. It is important to have diversity in this society that goes hand to hand with inequality, because it is Blackness that supply fuel or blood to our economy. It is the Blackness that form the basis of our economy by supplying labor and enable the capitalism to thrive. So this criminal justice system is an instrument that will ensure that the society remains as diverse as possible, and inequality is working properly, or it is there to ensure that inequality will put these people, the people of color, within their social group, so within their classes. So not enable these Black people in the society to have the social mobility, to have the upward movement, or to empower them. So criminal justice system should work perfectly to ensure that inequality remain there. And how criminal justice could work properly to ensure inequality in the society is by following what the laws, what the parliament has designed, the laws. So you can look, for example, police, which is part of criminal justice system, and the way the police deal with the Black young people. And what the police are doing is not unlawful. Of course, they are doing their work. Stop and search, something that we are crying for many years, is not unlawful. They're doing that because they've been empowered by our own parliament to do so. So where the roots of the problem there is not even on stop and search and discrimination, probably with police, because they're not working unlawful. The changes need to start there, from where the problem is. The laws need to change. Criminal justice is not an instrument for social justice and crime reduction, but as a mechanism for inequality and maintain unjust social order. So it's just to allow, so it's working to make sure that people, when they visit the criminal justice system, they go right back to their social classes. So it's not aimed to change these people, these young people who visit criminal justice system, to be a good citizen of tomorrow, but to ensure that once they go back to the society, they still face that kind of hardship to reintegrate in the society. In so doing, then they go back with the same group where they were before, and or even more or less in the bottom level. So with a more criminogenic effect than they had before. So the intention of a criminal justice system is not to deliver justice. That's why I was doubting whether we really need to call it a criminal justice system or a legal system, because it's just working legally to ensure inequality in the society. And it is there where the problem is. The problem is not the factors, which are just the symptoms of how the law is operating in this capitalist society. The contemporary criminal justice system has its root not in the modernity. It's not of the problem that we have today. It's not the layout of the society that we have today, but in the slavery and the colonialism. What we have and how the criminal justice system is operating here, whether you're talking about police, prosecution, judiciary, anything that forms the criminal justice system, if you look the mechanism, if you look the strategies, if you look how they operate, it's just the continuation of the colonial project. So what has changed, for example, if you see the picture on the top here and the picture on the bottom here, this was time during the slavery, where slavery was kind of more physical and more forceful. People were just uprooted from their localities and put in the aeroplane or put in the ship and been brought to the empire, let's say in the UK, to work forcefully and been beaten. But nowadays, the tactics have changed. The strategies has changed. These people here in the bottom level, while we can call them, or we can be called different names, migrants, we can call cheap laborers, we can call whatever name that we can call them, these people technically, they are slaves. It's just the noun has changed. And once they are here in the empire, yeah, they're doing exactly what the slaves were doing before. This is how it is. While the mechanism has changed from physical force, it's more of psychological force, and there's smarter strategies that make these people coming in this country belong in a certain social group, which is the lower social class, yeah. And once they're in the lower social classes, the mechanism, such as what the criminal justice system is doing, is to ensure that these people are not being empowered, and there's no any upward movement for these people to able to move from their low class to the higher class. The criminal justice system plays a role of colonial project in domination and exploitation. And that's why I'm trying to argue that the reforms that have come up in many reports from the parliament, from the politics, from the research, it's something that probably will not cause any realistic solution to recidivism or criminal behavior among Black people or people of color in general, because the problem is far away from this, where the symptoms or the factors that we are dealing with them today in a contemporary society. So it's not the issue that are evolving in this contemporary world. It is something that has well been designed right from slavery to where we are. The other thing that I would like to share with you is this one. Don't know if I can close that one. The Black people presence in criminal justice system, the historical analytical lens. So how Black people have been kind of fit within the criminal justice system. The contemporary punitive strategies are heavily embedded in race, racialization, racism, and inequality. Race is the key signifier in crime punishment discourse, yet its meaning is often taken for granted or left unexplored in a mainstream criminology. Racism is highly embedded in the legal system. The racism that we are talking about here, it is there within our own parliament, in judiciary, in executive. This is where it's within these kind of parameters. That's where the problem is, and where, if we really want to make changes among Black people and the issue of reoffending, changes need to start there where the problem is. So I put here, it's within these parameters where racism, racialization, and address that the criminal understanding of Black people presence in criminal justice system is lacking. So the understanding of the criminal behavior among Black young people is yet to be understood in the society. It's not yet been explored to see why these people, they have this problem. We just look on the symptoms that are attached to their behavior rather than looking what are the real causes that cause these people to reoffend. So at once, while these parameters are existing, the quintessence, the essence of psycho and social criminological factors are there to be proclaimed as the main reasons. So adversely, the Blackness is ill-perceived as a risk to the society. So being Black itself is a problem. Just the race, as others say, that race explains everything. As a result, these young people have been perceived, yeah, as a problem, as I said before, yeah, rather than being in trouble as a result what the criminal justice system is doing, just based on the color of the skin, yeah. These people, that's why they end up having this kind of more retributive approach. The approach that is just there to correct, or to not to correct, but just desert, in other words, that we are using, just desert, just given the punishment proportionally to what type of offense that the young person has done, rather than looking why this young person is likely or has committed this offense. So they are not being given that treatment model that will able to look on the root cause of their delinquent's behavior or any criminal behavior, or why are they being trapped in incarceration cycle. The type of treatment that we're giving these people, even, yeah, they're not fitting within their culture. So they prove ineffective as well. I don't know if I can able to move this one, but this image, which I put it here, this image here, I can move it down. They argued that a system cannot fail those it was never designed to protect. I like this kind of words, because the criminal justice that we're talking today and argue that, or the criminal justice system fails us or treats us differently. Of course, it has never been intended to treat Black people equally. This was not intention to begin with. So if really we want to make changes, as I just kind of suggested at the end of my presentation today, there's a need of dismantling, of make real changes, transformatives, rather than just the reformation, which are just dealing with the symptoms itself. So I just wanted to take some time as well to look on how the power of the empire, yeah, the legislature, the three organs of the society, and the criminal justice system, and recidivism nexus, the relationship between these two or three things. How the power of the empire, the legislature, the judiciary, and the executive, and the criminal justice system as a social structure, how does these two relating to recidivism? What is their influence, and what is their main role in terms of recidivism? How the role of the three organs of the state, the leaders of the empire, and the criminal justice system intersect to construct and uphold the Black criminality and Blackness as a risk to the society. So our legislature, as I've already mentioned, design and create the laws that delegate the power that enhance inequality and discrimination in the society. For example, the power of the police, and we'll see it in the next slide. For example, what example of the legislations, provisions that give power to the police that discriminate. So the problem is not why the police discriminating, is why these laws existing the way they exist. And if we need correction, then the power of the police need to be corrected by the legislature themselves. Judiciary, and judiciary is very important. The court, the role the court play in terms of recidivism, because the court here in the UK, they have the power to make the law because we have the customary laws, but they're also interpreters. So it is when the person or the Black young people or a person before the court is how the law will be interpreted. So the law is, we have so many cases where we see how the law have been interpreted differently from one person to another, just based on the color of their skin. Executive, the government department work to ensure the society lay out and make the society remain discriminative and unequal, enhancing the social classes. So our society has been designed. There's a time that if you tell people that I'm living in a certain postcode, people, they look at you 3 times and ask you, what do you do for living? Because they don't expect a Black person to belong in a certain postcode, because the society has been laid in such a way that if you have this color, you must belong in postcode A, B, C, D, and this postcode is not likely, you are not likely to be seen there. And yet we claim that these young people, they commit, they've been trapped in the recidivism because of where they live. What do we expect? It is the fault of these 3 guys here, legislature, judiciary, and the executive. And if we really want to make changes, the changes need to start from here, from legislatures, judiciary, and the executive. So let's see how the legislature, for example, designed the laws that give the loopholes for police to do their job properly and allow that discrimination and inequality to happen. So these are just a few of them, but very common one, but very significant in terms of when we talk about recidivism or relationship between criminal justice system and Black people in the UK. So we have section 1 there of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, the PES, which in a very brief way, it says police may stop, detain, and search, yeah? As long as the police has the reasonable grounds. So if they're suspicious, they can able to do so. So it's not that they are having the belief beyond the reasonable doubt, but only if they suspect, they have the power to stop and search. Section 6 of Criminal Justice and Public Order, 1994, as well, as many of them argue. For example, you can see the image here that this needed to be scrapped. Yeah, Section 47A of Terrorism Act 2000 is another area to blame. While this is very attentive because we need to look to balance the security of the country and the issue of discrimination. But the problem is that while police are human beings like we are, giving the power such as this, it giving them the more chance to discriminate. So the balance while needed to be there, yet we need to see how our law have been designed to ensure that discrimination and inequality remain with us, with Black people. So Black people are underprotected as victims, and they are over-policed as suspects. And this is not the fault of the gatekeepers themselves, the police. This is the fault of the parliament, the laws, the way the laws have been designed. Section 1 and Section 6 probably speak loudly in terms of how discrimination is being designed by the parliament itself. And it's designed by our parliament itself because all what is happening within our legal system, the parliament, the judiciary, the executive, is just the continuation of the colonial projects. So all what has changed from colonialism or slavery is just moving from the physical punishment and physical forceful of discriminating or making Black young people work for our countries, yeah, to the where to more of sophisticated strategies such as this that enable these people to feel part of the community, yet doing the same thing as they could do during they were doing during the slavery. So let's just look on stop and search. These are just some facts that speak by themselves. There you are. The figures are there. Stop and search by the end of last year. That is the number, almost 7,000. And this is just been conducted under the section that we were talking about, section 1 here of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act. So in other words, the effect of this section here is these figures in this slide here. So the number of stop and search just happened under this section in that year. It's just reported as such as that. There's an increase almost 24% compared with the previous year, and the highest number of stop and search since 2021, since 2014. So what is most striking here is that if you see how many changes and how many reforms and how many what we call alternatives to prisons that have been implemented within the criminal justice system to reduce recidivism, and look at the figure itself, it shows that the effort that we're trying to put it there to change the situation is not effective. They are still dealing with a very kind of a prima facie way of resolving the problem. It doesn't really go to the root cause of the problem. If you look on this statistic, things were very worse during the recession. And this tells us again in this paragraph here that it is the economic hardship that drive these young people to be trapped within the recidivism. And the solution is not to solve all their hardship through the criminological approach, not through criminal justice system that we can resolve all the problems that the young people are facing or to make them to reoffending. A more holistic approach is needed to ensure that this graph, it goes down and remains stable, because many problems that are attached with or cause these young people to offend is not from one aspect of life, it's in many dimensions, because it's impacting almost all aspects of their life that make them to live as human beings. So using criminal justice system as a correction point is not right. That's why they just end up in that incarceration cycle. Because once they serve that sentence, come to the society and find that it's even harder to reintegrate. The solution that they have is just to enhance that criminal attitude that, oh, life could be better if I'll continue selling drugs, and not even worry about the punishment that they will face, that make the punishment itself very ineffective. So judiciary here, this is the fact on how our judiciary, our court, enhance inequality and discrimination, and also add to the issue of recidivism. Remand among Black young people make about 32%. That was rise about 17% since 2011. Black Asian minority ethnic make about 13% of the UK population. However, just 3% are pure Black. But when we come to the percentage of the prison population, things changes. At the end of September 2021, 15% of those remanded were Black, despite of them just make 3% of the whole of Black people population in the UK. 43% of Black people are in prison for minor offenses, and Black young people are 24% less likely to receive the community sentences. Black young people are twice as likely to receive caution, and two times more likely to be sent to prison. Black young people are likely to receive 80% longer sentence compared to others, and they make that 34% again. They make 34% of the prison population, so they are being overrepresented to that point. So let's look on this kind of alternative to prison, because prison has been argued that it's not working. It's a school of crime. It traps young people in incarceration. So alternative needed to be in place to reduce recidivism. So growing prison population and other crises within the prison system that make it not working, that more young people, they likely to learn more criminal behavior when they're in prison, and incarceration is a way of producing the increasing the prison population, and it makes rehabilitation mode to fail. So what are alternatives? And how can we able to make this alternative to prison? And the alternative to prison here, we talk, for example, the community sentences and other sentences that are let's say, a fine and other things that are outside the custodial sentences. The government is the chief aim of the government to tackle the problem of prison crisis was not to tackle the root cause of the criminal behavior, or to tackle the problem why these people, they keep coming in and out of prison, to tackle recidivism. The actual aim, the chief aim, was to cut down the cost of running the prisons. So as a capitalist society, as the characteristic of capitalism is to maximize the profit. So what has been looked at there, if you look in detail, if you read in lines, why we need alternative to prison in this country is that it's because the prison population. Prison population is the main cause of crisis in our prisons, and followed by other factors such as hygiene, lack of staff, health and safety issues, and so on. But the chief reason there is overpopulation. And overpopulation, why is the main concern to our government? Because it become very costful. So our strategies was been aimed, or the alternative have been built up to ensure that not that the young people, they are changing to become better person, and they change from become criminals to lower bid citizen, but to make sure that we implement the measure that will still make these people to belong to their social classes, and yet reduce the cost of running the prison. So the prison population needed to be reduced. However, the alternative to prison should serve the same purpose. So to reduce the crisis within the prison system, to reduce the prison population, eventually cut down the cost of operation within the prison system. That was the aim, the kind of the main target of our government. And this tells us again that what is happening within our government, what is happening within the criminal justice system, all this is there just to serve the same thing about inequality. And unless that is been tackled and been looked at, nothing will be able to change. Nothing will change within the issue of recidivism among young people. The alternative to prison, they don't really intending to cut the root cause of the problem. So there's nothing that works. We have tried alternative to prison over a decade now, and the problem is even worse than before. The punishment become ineffective and have become, I use this word, normalizing. It become very normal to the people, to the young people that they've served their prison sentence more than once. I've interviewed them a couple of times, and you can see the way they take things very easy. Prison to them is nothing. So the effect, the way they see life, the way they construct the social reality before them is completely different because of the hardship that is attaching in their lives. Yeah. So criminal justice system is just neglecting the root cause, or is kind of overlook. While they know the problem is there, the issue that they are dealing with to resolve the problem is not even near where the problem is. So they become very unrealistic approaches, such as reforms within the police department and decreasing of prison population. Reform within the police department by make the police team more diverse is not a solution to stop and search. While others will look like, okay, if the society is diverse, then it's equal and inclusive. We can become as diverse as possible, but if our laws, if our rules, if our work ethics remain the same, nothing will change. The stop and search will remain with us, and there will be some other more forms of discrimination. So let's look on recidivism here at the glance. What are the key points when we talk about recidivism here? What are the root causes? I put there as
I'm sorry, Asmahan.
Pardon?
We have to leave 10 minutes for questions, so maybe like 3 more
Okay,
minutes.
I'm wrapping up just the last one now, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so continuity, the discriminative legal system. The law have been designed to allow the loophole for discrimination and disproportionate economic disadvantage among Black young people. The myriad of the factors that are existing, which are put in slide number 4, are the main, as just symptoms rather than the real cause of the problem. So I put some remarks here before I wrap up. Yeah, the remarks. So what need to be done then? I think the important thing is to understand the quintessence, the essence of the Black criminology from the minority perspective. Having that minority perspective is very important because it's very hard to use the mainstream perspectives to understand the Black criminality behaviors. And to develop the critical criminological perspective. Our perspective within criminology, which is just the branch of sociology, they need to be critical enough to be able to look beyond what we see as the reason for many problems that are existing in the society. And this perspective needed to reflect the Black criminality rather than just relying on the mainstream criminology. They need to consider the social harm, the socio-economic, the harms that are caused by the main social structures. Yeah. And also to ensure that the strategies that we put to tackle these issues are not just the reforms. We need a really transformative strategies. And number 4, I put as dismantling. Here, I mean that we need really to terminate the continuity of the colonial project that shape our penal system and criminal laws that are just embedded within inherited inequality and social unjust. And another important thing, I think, is to decolonization. While decolonization needs to touch each and every aspect of this society to become meaningful, because decolonization here is not just within our penal system, for example, it's much so in education. Our young people who we are blaming today that they are committing offense because of the other factors that such as dropping from school. The education itself is highly colonized. They don't even know why the factors that they face exist. So the education is not open enough. It is still taking the same approach to ensure that these people, they become unaware or not become empowered, because once you give them education that will enable them to construct the world differently, you already empower these people. Our education doesn't disclose the meaning or the real cause of inequality. So if we could have started from there, then probably even the school dropout and all other things could not happen. These young people, they could have a different mindset, the different attitude. So these are just some of the references, and thank you very much, and sorry for taking much time. Thank you. All my contacts are there. Please get in touch. Thank you very much.
Please take a screenshot. If attendees want to take a screenshot of the contact information, you can. And we have one question.
Okay.
Okay. How would you speak to the teenagers 13 to 18 years old about recidivism?
How I speak to the young person about recidivism?
Yeah, to teenagers 13 to 18 years old.
I can tell them that the problem of recidivism is something that you can overcome, yeah, not just by relying on what services you can receive within the criminal services, by seeking help outside the criminal justice system. So the best way to think of how you can able to get help as a young person to move away from recidivism is to look things from a different perspective.
Okay, great. Thank you. Do we have more questions? I think we can close the slide.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Yes, you're welcome. If you have more questions, please please type them in Q&A or in the chat. That was a wonderful presentation, so very well prepared.
Thank you. Thank you. So let me close that one.
Well, we'll wait 1 more minute for questions, and if there are no more questions, we will close the session.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we had people come and go. We had 6 people at one point of time, and
No
then
problem.
we
It's
lost
the end of the day, so they're all
and,
exhausted now.
and then some new people joined in, but and then it was
Yeah. No problem. No problem.
okay. It looks like there are no more questions. Thank you so much, Asmahan. It was great. It was wonderful to have you, and thank you. We thank all the attendees, and the session is closed. So have a great day, all. Bye bye.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for everything, and thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.